In the shadow of the Blackthorn Mountains lay the village of Eldwood, a cluster of stone cottages huddled at the edge of a vast, ancient woodland known as the Whispering Forest. Its towering trees, their bark twisted like old bones, stretched into the sky, their leaves rustling even when no wind stirred. The villagers spoke of the forest in hushed tones, warning of its secrets. Those who ventured too deep returned changed, if they returned at all. Their eyes hollow, muttering strange words that chilled the heart. Lila, a 16-year-old with unruly chestnut curls and a spark of defiance in her green eyes, had grown up on her grandmother's tales of the forest. Old Mara, with her weathered hands and voice like crackling fire, spoke of spirits bound to the trees, of truths hidden in the roots, and of a time when Eldwood and the forest were one. "The Whispering Forest doesn't harm," Mara would say, her gaze distant. "It tests." Lila clung to those words, her curiosity outweighing the village's fear. She dreamed of the forest, its whispers calling her name in the quiet of the night. One evening, as a storm brewed over the mountains, Lila overheard the elders in the village square. Crops were failing, wells were drying, and a strange blight crept from the forest's edge, blackening the fields. "The forest is angry," they whispered. "We've neglected it too long." That night, Lila made her decision. If the forest held answers, she would find them. Armed with a lantern, her leather-bound journal, and a dagger tucked into her belt, Lila slipped past the village gates under a moonless sky. The air grew heavy as she crossed the forest's threshold. The scent of moss and decay thickened her nose. Her lantern cast a frail golden glow, barely piercing the darkness. The silence was oppressive, broken only by faint whispers, soft overlapping voices that seemed to come from the trees themselves. "Turn back," they murmured, their words curling like smoke. But Lila's heart pounded with purpose. She pressed deeper, her boots sinking into the damp earth. Hours passed, or perhaps minutes. Time felt strange in the forest. The whispers grew louder, more distinct, weaving a chorus of voices, some pleading, others commanding. Lila's lantern flickered, its flame sputtering as if starved of air. Shadows danced across the trees, forming shapes, faces, hands, eyes that vanished when she looked directly. Her breath hitched, but she clutched her journal tighter, scribbling notes to anchor herself. "The forest is alive. It watches." At last, she stumbled into a clearing, bathed in an unnatural silver light, untouched by the surrounding gloom. The air here was warm, almost alive, and the whispers swelled into a symphony. In the center stood a colossal oak, its trunk wider than 3 men, its bark carved with glowing runes that pulsed like heartbeats. Lila's skin prickled. This was no ordinary tree. It was the heart of the forest. "Ask and know," the whispers sang, their voices now clear, a chorus of countless souls. Lila's pulse raced. She stepped forward, her hands trembling as she touched the oak's rough bark. A surge of warmth flooded her, and her vision blurred. Images poured into her mind. Eldwood's past unfolded like a tapestry. She saw the village's founding, its people dancing beneath the trees, offering songs to the forest in exchange for its protection. She saw betrayals too, villagers turning from the old ways, cutting trees for profit, ignoring the forest's pleas. And then a warning: a darkness was rising, a blight born of neglect, threatening to consume both forest and village. The tree's voice boomed in her mind, ancient and sorrowful. "The forest guards Eldwood, but its power fades. The heartstone, hidden beneath my roots, is our strength. Find it, child, and restore what was lost." Lila fell to her knees, digging frantically in the soft earth. Her fingers bled, scraped raw by roots and stones, but she didn't stop. At last she found it, a smooth, fist-sized stone that shimmered like bottled starlight. warm to the touch and pulsing faintly. As she held it aloft, the whispers erupted into a triumphant song. The clearing blazed with light and the forest seemed to breathe. Trees straightened, leaves unfurled, and the air grew sweet. But the tree's voice returned, urgent. The heartstone must be placed in the village shrine, where the bond was first forged. Hurry, for the blight stirs. Lila ran, the heartstone clutched to her chest, the forest guiding her path. Branches parted before her, roots smoothed underfoot. The whispers urged her on, their voices now a chorus of hope. But as she neared Eldwood, a cold wind howled and the ground trembled. The blight was waking, a writhing mass of shadow and rot, clawing from the forest's edge toward the village. Lila burst into Eldwood at dawn, her clothes torn, her face streaked with dirt. The villagers gathered, gasping at the glowing stone in her hands. "The shrine!" she cried, racing to the village square, where a crumbling stone altar stood, overgrown with weeds. The elders hesitated, but old Mara stepped forward, her eyes bright with understanding. "Do it, child," she whispered. Lila placed the heartstone in the altar's hollow center. A pulse of light rippled outward, sweeping through Eldwood and into the forest. The blight shrieked, dissolving into ash. The fields brightened, the air cleared, and the forest's edge glowed with a soft, welcoming light. The whispers faded, but Lila felt their presence still, a quiet promise of protection. The villagers stared in awe, some weeping, others kneeling. Lila said nothing of the heartstone's power, but she met her grandmother's gaze, a silent vow passing between them. The whispering forest was no longer a place of fear. It was a guardian, its secrets safe with its keeper. And so the whispers continued, no longer warnings but songs of hope, weaving through the trees and the hearts of those who listened.